Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever it is, whenever it is, in your part of the world. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is episode 12, part 1 of the Let's Make Some Noise series. That means it's the final one. This is it. The last episode. We've made it. We're making it. We're in the process of making it. I can't believe we have come this far. It's been an incredible journey. It's been exhausting. It's been exciting. There's been laughter and tears, anger, all the emotions. It's been a roller coaster. So many effects, so many pedals, so many great companies, so many great sounds. And by the end of this episode, I think we will have demonstrated over 180 pedals, if my math is correct. And we will have given away over 100 pedals and tons of other gear. Can't believe we're here. Thank you so much for sticking with us along for the ride, and for everyone that has gone home with an awesome pedal board, set of cables, new recording software, all of this. I hope you're using this gear to pursue your own musical endeavors, and I hope it's inspiring you to make more music. If I had the capacity, I would just keep this series going, but all good things must come to an end. We're gonna have some fun first, though. We have a really, really great team tonight. Right now we have Liam Catchings on the guitar, making his debut. Unfortunately, we should have gotten him on the series sooner, but he's here tonight. We've got Aaron Dupre on the keys. We've got Taylor Matherne returning on bass. Alex Alfortish with his various assortment of machines. And Michael Williams is also going to be here playing guitar this evening. Michael Blount and Paul Emden as well. The largest cast in the entire run of the series. So I'm excited to be here with this crew of musicians and to have worked with so many killer players along the way. It's been a journey. I keep saying that. Really, it's been a journey. Tonight, we have a pretty huge lineup of pedals. We saved a biggie for the last. Got huge builders like Empress and small builders from all corners of the world already. It's going to be awesome. So we're excited, and I think in just a second here we're going to start digging in. Don't forget to stick around at the end of the episode, see which gear we're going to be giving away and what might be able to come home with you. All right, this one is a doozy. We have the Empress Echosystem dual engine delay in front of us here. And while we've only had a limited time to absorb it, we were all pretty blown away. So obviously an incredibly powerful digital delay with over 40 algorithms, as I'm told. And you can select from 2 or 1 of the multiple modes of delay that they have. And within each of those, I should say rather presets, there are multiple modes within themselves. So this is going to affect what kind of modulation you'll be able to control in each one. And sometimes really the sound of the overall effect. You've got your basic delay controls with your delay time, your delay ratio, your tone, and your mix, your feedback, and your master output. And then just like the Empress Reverb, you've got your Thing 1 and your Thing 2 controls, typically used for dialing in whatever modulation is associated with the delay preset that you're using. Beyond that, there's really a lot more. You can select when you're running with the dual engines, whether you want to run them together in single, dual series, dual parallel, or left and right out. That's the engine that we're going to use for most of this because we are recording in stereo, and I really like the sound of splitting off to either ear with either effect. And you can use this pedal as a looper with the effects engaged. You can stick an SD card in here and add more sounds, download new sounds from patch storage, and there's a control port, of course, for expression control and controlling other parameters on the fly. Let's just click it on, and right now we've got the lo-fi delay and the tape delay in the left-right engine mode. So So you can hear the two different delays reacting independently. It's incredible. There's a tap tempo switch. Let's slow that down. All right, let's find a different combination of effects here. Now we're using tape and stutter. We're heavily modulated. And it's fun to discover what the Thing 1 and Thing 2 controls do in each mode. If you don't have the manual handy, it's really okay. This is where you dive in and explore. Let's change tape to something else. Let's try filter mode here. And we'll take stutter and move it to reverse. Go to a delay and reverb mode. And we'll put filter mode into ambient. Is incredible. Let's take ambient and move it back to mod mode. Here's analog and lo-fi in dual series mode. I had to catch that runaway oscillation there. Let's try analog into delay and reverb. There we go. This is also in dual series mode. Now let's hear that split off left and right ear. I'm really a big fan of that. That would be my preferred operating mode for this pedal. I always love controlling delay time parameters manually. Of course, there's really so much that you can do with this pedal. Obviously, we're not going to be able to do an extreme deep dive exploration, but you can hear right off the bat its potential is outstanding. It's top tier. for sure. All right, moving on. We have the very special CROM Fuzz Distortion from Caroline Guitar Company. And this was one of their more recent gain pedals to come out towards the end of 2022. It's got 3 simple controls. It's based off of the Supa Tonebender style fuzz with a Tweed amp style tone control. So we have a master volume, we've got the tone, and there's a gain knob, right? What's really cool, though, is on the side of the pedal, there's also this turbo switch that allows you to change the clipping and blast the pedal even further into heavier distortion. So it's definitely not for the faint of heart. But this pedal sounds really great. It's not super noisy, although there is an internal trim pot where you can get things crazier if you want and also affect the bias if you want. Yeah, and I'm about at like 9 o'clock on the gain knob, and that's already pretty beefy. Let's go all the way full gain. Now this is without the turbo foot switch. Even with the tone knob fully right, very tasteful, not overly bright, and you get a presence roll off. That's also very tasteful and subtle, with a nice taper to it. If you want to just shave off some of that shrill sharpness of your pickups, especially if you're using a bridge pickup. I'm gonna get it back to where it's pretty sizzly here. Let's try the turbo foot switch to change the clipping. And that absolutely affected our bass response and really gave a boost to the lower end. All right, let's roll back the gain. Take it out of turbo mode. Yeah, but one thing we really like about the CROM is how it sounds when you roll your guitar's volume knob back. And it's just a very nice textural overdrive. Really love the sound of this pedal. All right, a really fun one here. We have the Mattoverse Air Trash. This pedal is so hard to describe that even its creator couldn't really put into words quite exactly what it's doing or even what the 2 main parameter knobs are doing within it. You could think of this pedal as a type of fuzz or distortion in a way. It absolutely mangles your sound. You're going to hear a lot of static and grit and texture added, but I wouldn't exactly call it fuzz or distortion. It's very interesting. There is a master volume, and then the other 2 controls are just highly interactive. It's also very sensitive to the input. So rolling down your guitar, your bass's volume knob can sometimes really clean things up. There's also an interesting sort of dynamic response tremolo going on within the pedal. So let's just click it on. We do have our guitar's volume knob rolled down to begin with. hear lots of compression going on in there. Now, as a disclaimer, it says right on the front page of the product description that this pedal sounds like absolute garbage. Which is funny as that is. It is an accurate description. But it is in such a fun way. I could see turning this on during a solo, pairing it with another fuzz, and just having this crazy, unique sound that just really explodes a song during a chorus or a transition in between songs, and makes people wonder, how are they doing that? All right, we've got quite an incredible reverb up next. This is the Dr. Scientist, the Atmosphere, a highly revered, highly talked about, and well-respected multi-mode reverb that I have had a good bit of experience with. It's probably one of my favorite multi-mode reverbs that are out there, just because of the quality of the sound, the ease of accessibility. Everything on the LED screen is just so easy to see, and the parameters are all simple and right there in your face, and you can really see and control what you're doing in every mode. You can use it as a workhorse reverb. It's got all the standard room, hall, plate, spring modes like that, but then you've also got some really cool, exceptional ones like the ether reverse and gated reverb and the pitch reverb. So we're going to jump right in, and I want to start on one of my favorite modes, the pitch verb. And we have it in a downward modulating mode. So you'll hear that right off the bat. I had that dialed in pretty extreme, but obviously you don't have to use it to such comical effect. But you really can see in sound design some of these extreme settings or can be extremely practical. That's lovely. Some of the parameter controls on the front of the pedal act as master controls, like the mix and the decay and the tone, the volume, and the resonance. But on the screen, you can see the other parameters that are individual and unique to the mode that you're in. And Control 1 and Control 2 are going to affect those other parameters. All right, let's try jumping to octave mode. Got the decay turned up high for these nice long trails. And yes, you can get the mix 100% wet on this pedal. Yes. Let's hear the rotary mode. Yes, and you can also engage tap tempo for the modes of this pedal that have anything that you need to adjust speed on. You can control this pedal with MIDI. You can save lots of onboard presets and many more via MIDI. You can also control any of the parameters via an expression pedal, alternatively or at the same time, which is really cool. Let's try ether mode. Yeah. Reverse reverb with added phasing. That's the res knob that I'm turning right there. Such a powerful pedal. It really just sounds fantastic and so unique. All right, yeah, so we're in gated mode now. And gated reverb is always one of those things that's extremely fun and really begs you to write something interesting that plays to the effect. All right, now we're in filter mode, where you can control a low-pass filter and a high-pass filter with the Control 2 and Control 1 knobs. I'm doing this manually, but an expression pedal would make this really, really easy and fun to do on the fly. Just so many cool modes on this pedal that you can really only get inside this device. Absolutely one of the coolest reverbs that is out there. Moving on, we have the Artemis from Spaceman Effects, which is a multi-mode envelope filter featuring an analog 2-pole state variable filter core. Yes, I did have to read that off of my laptop. Yeah, the Artemis is a filter pedal with a high-pass, bandpass, and low-pass filter section. You have a frequency control for specifying which part of the spectrum you want to accentuate in some of the modes. You've got envelope modes, LFO modes. You can put it in a static mode where you can just sweep frequencies and use it like a wah pedal with an expression controller. And you can use it as a preamp. You can use it to just color your signal. You can cut frequencies in the low end and boost in the high. Or you can push things up in the mid-range and, you know, take your drives and turn them into garage rock tone drives or fuzzes. The resonance control on this gets pretty gritty and saturated as you go up with it. There's really so many uses for this. It's a coloring tool, but it's also a pretty interesting effect in and of itself, especially when you get into the LFO modes. Kind of hard to describe. going to kick it on, and we're going to start in the first LFO mode, which is a triangle wave. And we're just going to hear what it does. The frequency knob turned to minimum is going to get you the widest range of sweep on this, and the amount knob is going to control the speed of your LFO. And the rate goes incredibly fast. There's also a random LFO mode. If you want to get really crazy with it. Let's go to the envelope, the first envelope mode. Just envelope up. Increase the resonance. Right there, you can really hear it. Doing high pass, low pass sweeps. It's another fun application of this. Just putting it in static mode, we can EQ things however we want. Let's beef up the low end, scoop the mids. The central point of the frequency that we want to kind of hang out around. Turning the resonance knob down is going to cause everything to be a little bit more subtle and less pronounced of an effect, which is good sometimes. All right, the SONA Fuzz from Mass Effects. It's a gorgeous looking pedal with a sparkle finish. Mark from Mass has several iterations of the artwork and the designs of his pedals. It's really cool to just kind of look through his catalog and pick and choose what version is cool for you. Besides that, his pedals, like the Expanse, Mimir's Well, and the SONA Fuzz, the ones that I've tried so far, are just fantastic. They sound great. They're easy to use. Got 3 knobs on the SONA Fuzz and 1 toggle switch. It's a very high gain fuzz. It really no jokes about it. You can get low gain on it for sure, and it cleans up really well with the volume of your guitar knob. One super interesting thing is that the tone knob is not just your typical tone, but it splits between a high cut and a low cut. And if you're in the middle, you're kind of unaffected, uncolored. And then you have a toggle switch for a mode that has more body and one that's more thinned out. Let's just gain it up, and we're going to hear it with the toggle switch up, so it's got a little bit of a fatter sound to it right off the bat. So that's just got a fantastic sound to it. Let's try the low cut, and we're going to thin it out with the toggle switch here. Giving it a more waspy quality. right, let's roll the gain back a little bit and see how it does more like an overdrive. Let's add that body back into it. Besides sounding great, there's also a couple of other really unique features that are really cool for a fuzz pedal, like the fact that you can hold the bypass foot switch down and engage it temporarily if the pedal is disengaged, or vice versa. If the pedal is engaged, you can hold the bypass foot switch down and disengage it until you release. You can also open up the pedal, and there are 2 internal trimmers. So you could dial up the gain even further on this pedal, and there's a bias control, so you can absolutely get some spitty, gated fuzz sounds out of this. And there's the high cut filter in action. It's especially useful for bass guitar. Just love the texture on this fuzz. All right, moving on. We have the Greer Amps Super Hornet. This pedal is it's gorgeous looking, just such a cool aesthetic design on the front. Ever since I've seen it on Greer's website, I've wanted to nab one of these, so I was really excited when Nick sent one in. The Super Hornet is an octave fuzz, so you can also use it as a standard fuzz, and it gets very high gain. It also does low gain really well. If you have the octave engaged and you get low gain, you can almost get into some ring Monty territory. It absolutely retains the octave. Sounds fantastic on bass. Has a really cool secondary foot switch. It says Stinger. Basically, if you have the pedal in normal fuzz mode and you want to just momentarily engage your octave on the fly for like maybe just the tail end of a ripping solo, or even rhythmically, which we're going to try out later, you can do that. And it's a soft tap foot switch, so it's a really smooth response. It's really neat. You also have a tone control and your master volume, but let's just click it on with the octave and hear what it sounds like. The octave is very pronounced. Tone control can smooth out some of that sharpness that you can get with octave fuzzes. Kind of like it right about there. Let's just hear how it sounds as a fuzz. Still has a very stinging quality, but you can hear much better bass response. I know the reason why this would be a great octave fuzz pedal choice for a bassist. You can use it in either mode. Tons of sustain. Fantastic texture all around. Let's try that Stinger foot switch. Another multi-effect. We saved this for the last episode because it's a pretty intense pedal. The H9 Max is no new design to anyone that's been in the pedal industry or the pedal realm for the last 8 to 10 years, and it was certainly ahead of its time and a pioneer pedal when it came out. Yes, this is the Max, so it is fully loaded, and since we filmed this episode, the H900 will have come out and is the expanded version on this legendary classic pedal, but without a doubt, the original H9 is still incredibly powerful and versatile and is one of the flagship pedals of Eventide. So we have gone through our favorite presets on the H9. On the front face of the pedal, you have a center knob, which you do to control most of your effects. You use the X, Y, and Z buttons to access the different parameters in each mode, and they're going to be unique to each mode. You can also tap the X button to scroll through all the extra added parameters and really fine-tune things if you want. Save all the presets that you want with all of the changes that you made to them, and this pedal is really like a rig in a box. Of course, MIDI in and out capability, expression controllability, true stereo ins and true stereo outs, USB updatability, all of these things also put it up in that top tier realm. We're going to start off with the Ghost preset, and we're going to work our way from there. To Corridor. I love digital reverbs where you can adjust the size. Master of Bands preset. The Ultra Swell mode. Oh my God, that is incredible. I would get this pedal just for this effect. Crystals mode. This is the Mosquito preset. This reminds me of sounds that I found inside their Ultra Tap pedal. It's so cool. Let's try one more. As you can hear, so many of the sounds inside this unit are just ingeniously singular, and you probably couldn't find that combination of sounds in any other pedal. So, Eventide is a legendary company for a reason. Awesome. We love the H9. All right, the Farm Pedals Sweet Leaf, one of the biggest contributors to the series. They sent in about 6 or 7 pedals, and this is the last one we get to dig into. The Sweet Leaf, as you can see, has no knobs, no controls, just a foot switch. It does one thing, and it does it really well, and that is really high gain fuzz. It also acts as a boost pedal in a sense because you get a bit of a volume bump whenever you engage the fuzz. So this is just a no-nonsense pedal that you can kick on for ripping solos or lead moments or whatever you choose. Right now we've got our volume knob dialed back, which is really how you control the saturation and the output of this pedal. Let's kick it on, and Taylor's going to roll full volume, and then we'll play around with the guitar's volume knob after that. Can't help but make that stank face. All right, let's try rolling that volume knob back. All right, on to the pedal with the greatest name in pedal history, the great fantabulizing Whatsitdo from Whimsy Machines. This is a gorgeous looking pedal. The aesthetic is fantastic. And that really goes for everything from Whimsy Machines that I've seen. And this also includes their packaging, the artwork, the goodies that come inside the pedal. They really take a lot of care on the visual side. And so this is my first time, though, getting to play one of their pedals. It essentially could be described as an octave fuzz, but it doesn't really have all of the same characteristics of your everyman's octave fuzz that you might kind of stumble upon. But yes, it's more harmonic distortion, and if you go and you check out the description of this pedal online, It's obvious the pedal is named the Whatsitdo because it's kind of hard to describe. Essentially, it warps and distorts your signal, generating higher fundamental frequencies. And there's basically just a gain control, and there's a knob for 4 layers of fundamental distortion. So we're going to start on in the first level and gain it up pretty high and just hear what it sounds like. Jump onto the second or third level here. Let's go to level 4. This is increasing the number of fundamentals generated. Got it gained all the way up here. It's a very interesting sound. Definitely very stingy. It's like a shock of electricity on the tip of every note that you play. So back in mode 1, we can hear there's more bass response, and as we turn the 4-way toggle up to level 4, we hear things start to thin out with an increased sharpness and stinginess to it. All right. One of my favorite builders this series sent in 2 of his newest pedals to round off the series, and so we're going to check out 2 of them today. Janis LV. This is the Plusma reverb. May not be pronouncing that correctly, but I'm doing the best I can, right? Got 4 knobs. It's a hall-type sounding reverb. To my ears, to our ears. You've got a mix and a decay. You've got a volume, you've got a tone. And then there's a really interesting toggle switch. I don't think I've ever seen this on any kind of reverb or delay pedal before for thin oscillation and fat oscillation. We had to plug in and mess around with that to see exactly what that was talking about, but it makes sense. So right now we have the reverb very lightly engaged, but let's turn the mix all the way up and just hear it at full glory. So you can hear at full mix, it's not 100% wet, which leads me to believe this pedal is probably better for practical purposes. It could really exist on a lot of different players' boards. It's a very tasteful blend right there. Just hovering under your playing. And I've got the decay set in thin mode pretty high, so you really hear that ringing underneath. That just gives everything a ghostly quality. Let's split this up and see how far we can take that oscillation. dial it back so we don't carry that tone that it picked up too far. Right there is really nice. Let's hear the fat oscillation. And I've noticed that the decay is more sensitive in this mode. And it's easier to get into self-oscillating or runaway oscillation. It just sounds really nice. Very nice, Janis. I really, really like the sound of this pedal. All right, moving on, we have the Rage Monster from Malay's Forever Customs. The Rage Monster is a dual-stage germanium treble booster overdrive, and it can get from light drive to a nice medium saturation, but it has a few tricks up its sleeve as well. We're busting out the humbuckers for this because treble boosters traditionally are very handy for adding presence and single note clarity and warmth to duller, darker sounding humbuckers, giving them more of a single coil, feel. The 3-position toggle controls the output capacitance, so there's a couple different color options for this pedal where you can have your low end intact, your low end boosted, or more of a low cut treble boosted mode. Let's kick it on right now. We're going to hear the difference it makes. We're going to crank it up at full gain. So this is low cut. Let's add the low end back in. Between the two stages is a low-pass variable filter, and you control that with the body knob. To the left, we're going to clean up, get a more flat response, and then we're going to get more body low end and gain as we turn to the right. All right, the toggle switch in the 3rd position, even more added fullness. This is unique for a treble booster. Not only did you get that added clarity and grit, you can also get a nice beefy sound as well. It's really a full package. Let's hear it off. Now I'm going to lower the gain and click it back on. So you see there, it's only adding a little bit of grit, but it's making those humbuckers really shine. Back in the low-cut treble boost. Very voxy sound. All right, moving on to our friends Paradox Effects down in Mexico. This is the Terran revoicing overdrive. It's not your typical overdrive. It's got an active mid-range filter, and you have bandwidth controls for selecting which part of the mid-range you want to sort of accentuate. You've got a resonance control for how sharp and peaky you want things to kind of come out. It's an interesting pedal in many ways because you can use it as an overdrive, which is mid to high gain itself, and it sounds fantastic. But you can also use it as a preamp running into other dirt pedals to revoice them as well. Why would you want this kind of thing, or when would you be in a situation where you would need this? Well, if you wanted more garage rock kind of tones or filtered out bandpassed tones like from Queens of the Stone Age, it's extremely handy, and you can't just dial that in on a typical overdrive pedal. So let's just click it on, and Paul here is going to scroll through a couple of the filter settings. So with the resonance up, you can get some of those famous cocked wah sounds for sure. And you've got a 3-band tone control with bass, mid-range, and treble. And they all respond differently depending on where the toggle switch is. Gain it down a little bit. Yeah. So many applications for this, really. I mean, I've already heard about 30 different totally usable sounds in this. All right, but we're going to use the Terran now as a preamp running into the CROM fuzz distortion that we checked out earlier in the episode, and we're going to see how it changes the character of that pedal. So let's start with the CROM on just by itself and disengage the Terran. All right, let's engage the Terran. Oh my God. I love that sound. It's such a cool pedal. All right, we are now revisiting the brass fuzz from Kiev, Ukraine. This is Noise Space Audio. They sent this in. It even says on the back of the pedal, made proudly in Kiev, Ukraine on day 200 of Russia's invasion. It's pretty surreal to have this hanging out with us here, and we couldn't be more grateful for them to send it our way. It's a very interesting pedal. It's a take on the Brassmaster, and they got a hold of the Maleko Bassmaster, Bassmaster, and modified the circuit pretty heavily, made their own personal improvements and changes, and it's a very unique fuzz pedal. Your signal is split into 2 paths, clean and dirty. And then you also have a filter switch on here and a harm switch, which does some internal rerouting and changes the location of the filter and the pedal. And then you have drive, which is your input gain stage. So it is an octave fuzz. Let's kick it on, and we're going to start with less of the clean blended in and kind of hear it gained up. Right, so the drive knob is your input gain. You can get various levels of sort of glitchy octave textures by moving that around. I'm going to roll some clean signal into this. Really handy on bass or low octave instruments. And especially good if you want to play something more polyphonic like Michael is here. All right. Now, we can engage the filter but it's not a very prominent effect until we reroute with the harm toggle. Yeah, and right off the bat, you can hear the filter is much more pronounced. Lots of waspy, almost gated, spitty tones in this. Super wide range of tones. It's a very cool, unique fuzz pedal. All right, from down in Mexico, Neural Devices sent us this lovely Chambers reverb. Beautiful looking pedal is a deep plate reverb with multiple modes of modulation and a clock control, damp, decay, pre-delay, mix, feedback, and an option to select whether you have tails when you disengage the pedal or not. Infinite sustain. Very cool pedal. Does a lot. Sounds really nice. Let's click it on. We've got the mix about midway dialed in. Right off the bat, I wanted to mess with the clock on this pedal and see how it affects the fidelity. With that clock lower, just this nice grainy lo-fi wash that we're hearing. It's so nice. There's so much you can do by turning up the decay and the feedback and the pre-delay. Create ambiences in this. Rolling back on the damp knob is going to add some more presence to what he's playing there. We've got some subtle modulation in the mix right now. Let's turn that mix all the way up and try the infinite sustain. So one thing that's cool is with the infinite sustain, it doesn't detach your dry signal. So you can continue playing on it and have your sound be saturated while this aura just kind of floats around your notes. Playing with clocks is so fun. All right, let's try something that's slow and ambient here. The modulation is just dialed in very tastefully. There's no need to mess with that. I like it sometimes when pedal builders make decisions for you that eliminate some of the headache of having to make permanent decisions on everything, you know? Lost in this. Neural Devices. I'm very impressed. I really want to check out some of your other effects now, for sure. All right, the second entry from Janis LV for the night, the RNGD, which is a random noise generating delay. Never experienced anything like this in my life. It is a synth, it's an instrument on its own, it's a noisemaker. It is a crazy oscillating powerhouse, and you can run whatever you want through it, or you can absolutely just plug from the output of this and just get some wild, raucous, atonal madness out of it. We're going to run this through bass, so you hear the bass coming through, and in some situations you've got a very square wave like fuzz that's glitchy and responds differently to Taylor's dynamics, and then in some positions it's just going to sound like a dying car battery. So it's very experimental. Let's check it out. So we dialed in this sound that we like a lot. I mean, it's monstrous and fuzzy and surprisingly smooth, like a square wave fuzz would be. So the toggle switches in the pedal are going to flip between different modes. There's no point in me trying to break down the interactivity between the controls on this because I'm not a rocket scientist. Right now we've got the feedback quite high, and so you can hear it running away. There's the delay aspect of it. It's all about experimentation. It's all about exploring. I mean, that's nasty. Sorry, Taylor, didn't mean to steal some of your thunder there. Or all of your thunder. One more time. All right, next up we have the Jupiter Effects Katastrophe Sludge Fest Dominator. This is a high gain distortion pedal with comprehensive tone controls and a secondary octave up circuit that adds more gain than your typical octave up control in most octave fuzzes and things like that you see. This pedal could be used in multiple genres, but absolutely really excels at high gain, heavier, droney music. It's very textural, sounds really good. We're going to crank it all the way up, and Alex actually has a very interesting relic of a guitar here, the Moog guitar with his infinite sustain. So let's try it. So you have bass, treble, and presence controls. And presence is going to articulate even higher frequencies in the treble. There's also a low cut. more modern players like to trim some of those lows. It goes from very high to mid-gain, so we're rolling it back here. But let's gain it back up and add the octave in. You can blend how much of the octave you want to add to your signal. Pedal's also fantastic on bass. It really has a lot of thickness to it. All right, next up we have the Buzzaround from Done Effects. They sent in their purifier that we got to mess with earlier in the series. This is what sounds like to me a tone bender style fuzz with zippy, slightly gated qualities. Very, very textural and responsive and interesting and fun to play. We've got gain, master volume, and though the knobs are not labeled in this acid etched enclosure, believe a treble and a bass controls here. We're going to kick it on. It gets pretty high gain. We thought it sounded really nice on bass. Let's just see what it sounds like. Nice and zippy. This pedal uses a trio of old stock germanium PNP transistors. Turn up that low end. Yeah, now you're starting to hear those gated qualities. Let's thin things out. You can absolutely tell why this pedal was called the Buzzaround. Yeah, I am excited to introduce this next pedal, the Ground Effects Luxe Ambient Reverb. It's no secret around here that Ground Effects is one of my favorite pedal builders out there. Everything that Ben does is just tasteful, gorgeous looking. He has incredible aesthetic design. His prints and his enclosures have only improved over time. This pedal has just a beautiful sparkle finish on it. And something that Ground Effects does really well is just capturing the best tones and really simplifying the interfaces on their pedals. So any pedal you pick up from them, you turn it on and whatever it's going for, it immediately nails. You just don't find bad sounds. So here's his first ambient offering, and it's a really interesting pedal with an interesting double-sided design. You've got master controls for your pre-delay and your final output volume, but then you've got two channels of reverb that have their independent decay and mix controls. You engage the pedal with the right foot switch, but with the left, you swap between the two channels. It's the same big plate style reverb, but It's handy for if you want lower length decay, say on a verse, and then you just want to switch to an ambient wash and back and forth. So let's kick it on with sort of a shorter reverb and just kind of hear how it adds some presence to the guitar, and then we'll get more ambient from there. For a digital plate reverb, it's just so warm and natural sounding. Go for infinite decay. Let's lower the mix, but let that decay right under it. God, you can get lost in that. Let's go full 100% wet. When you flip back to that other channel, you heard the tails of that sustain reverb just slowly fading away, which makes for a very natural, nice transition. Absolutely gorgeous pedal, Ben. Fantastic work. The last pedal of the night. The last pedal of the series. This is it. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the Mattoverse Tiny Turntable. It's not actually a pedal per se. This is essentially a sound effect making device, which is, to be honest, a crucial part of any kind of sound design. It's really good to have something in your pocket that you can just bust out to make wild and unexpected sounds. If you're a sound designer, or even if you just want to throw in some crazy oscillating noise, you know, behind a big solo or a big movement of some kind of experimental song. I could see Black MIDI using this. It's also passive. Don't need to power it on. You've got a master volume knob. Very easy to control. Taylor, why don't you perform a little solo here? we're running into the neural devices chambers reverb here as well. Ladies and gentlemen, I hate to say this, the series is coming to a close. Episode 12, Part 2 will be out before you know it. We'll be giving away the last batch of pedals, and we'll be moving on and forward to new horizons, new things. Thank you. Let me finish with thank you, everyone who... Thank you so much, everybody who has stuck around for our journey through this madness. I'm going to be working pretty hard on the record for probably the next few months. We'll see what happens. And so with that, ladies and gentlemen, I bid you good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever it is, whenever it is in your part of the world. Thanks so much for tuning in. We've had a blast. Thank you all the builders, and thank you everyone on the local front down here that it's just been so cool to come up and just bust out an insane amount of original music and help out in the series. So I will be hopefully seeing you guys soon. Take care.